So we are going to hop right into it. Okay, so this session is called the Millionaire Woman. Everybody wants to be a millionaire, and I think we're going to go through some things where, we're surprised at what a millionaire actually is. So this is myself. So I'm Chrystal Bernard again. I am now a published author. All right, now adding something to my resume. I'm a certified public accountant. I'm the co-pastor with my husband at Believers Connection Church and the founder of the Proverbs 31 Woman Club. My financial background, so my husband and I, we went on this debt-free journey a couple years ago, got back in debt, got out of debt again, and now we are completely debt-free outside of our mortgages. We both graduated from college debt-free. Our stories are very different in that I went to college right out of high school. My parents, as well as scholarships and grants, like I was applying like crazy, really to fund my education expenses, versus my husband, on the other hand, he went as an adult while we were married and had 3 kids, actually. And we managed to pay for his schooling, and he went to a private Christian school, Dallas Baptist University. But because of the financial stewardship we had been doing over the years, we were able to pay for that fully. We have over 7 streams of income. Real estate, we have real estate property, our primary home, as well as a rental home. Speaking, my book sales, business consulting, and my CPA practice. I have my own CPA practice, and I not only I prepare tax returns, but I keep monthly financial statements and books for some large clients, ranging from very small businesses up to businesses making over $3 million a year. So let's go. Get your pens out, get your paper. Let's take this journey all together. We're going to watch a very quick video just to kind of see where we are.
Borrowing boom, the strong U.S. economy fueling a record level of consumer debt. A report highlighted in the Wall Street Journal said Americans will carry more than $4 trillion in debt this year. But the good news so far, they aren't having any trouble managing it. He is on fire about this, the author of the upcoming book, Everyday Millionaires, Ramsey Solutions financial expert Chris Hogan. Chris, this has to make you crazy.
It really does, Dagan. I mean, you look at this and you realize we're talking about $14 trillion in debt, $10 trillion in mortgage debt, and almost $4 trillion in credit cards, student loans, and car payments. And so this is alarming to me because it pushes us back toward crisis levels like we dealt with back in '08.
What to do about it then? Are we going to change our habits? Again, is it going to be higher interest rates? Because rates have already gone up on a whole host of consumer debt because the Federal Reserve's been raising short-term interest rates. So if not now, when will we get our financial houses in order?
Dagan, I think it's really going to be important for Americans to really start to look at debt and understand how it works. You were just talking about the credit card reward programs and trying to get consumers to spend more to be able to allow the banks and those institutions to make more money. I want Americans to keep their money. Debt tries to separate you from your money. So I think it boils down to education and people getting fed up of being sick and tired of living paycheck to paycheck. Keep more of your money and grow it. That's what I want people to do.
This story is important enough, Matt, if you want to ask Chris something, but that the Journal highlighted it, the debt level among consumers.
Yeah, and I mean, I think generally many of the analysts feel it's essentially a sign of health, but I know what Chris is saying about the individual living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, my question for you, Chris, is how bad a problem right now, even compared to the others, even compared to '08, is the student debt part of it, and how much is that a drag? And even beyond, now you talk about obviously individuals' responsibility for their debt, but student debt is a slightly different kind of a thing since it's ties to your college education as well. Is there a bigger solution of some kind for student debt, and how big a drag is that right now compared to other kinds of debt?
No, great question. I mean, student loan debt is a major, major issue. It's climbed to all new highs in the last 5 years. I think young people need to understand that higher education is a good thing, but you don't need to go higher into debt. looking for scholarships, looking for grants, going to community college at night while you work during the day. There are ways to pursue it without signing on that dotted line, bringing yourself $40,000 to $50,000 into student loan debt.
Let's talk about financial resolutions, a big part of the new year for many. A new study from Fidelity shows that 74% of Americans were able to stick with their financial resolutions last year. Give us some ideas. Take us through your advice, Chris.
Well, I think whenever you're looking at and talking about resolutions, I want you to get serious about it. So write them down. Don't be interested in your goals. Be committed to them. So write them down and keep them in front of you. I think, Dagan, too oftentimes we can get sidetracked and say we're interested in doing something in January, but come February, forget all about it. So write it down, put it in your phone, put it on your calendar, stay interested in it, and understand.
All right, so we see a little bit just from that clip that Americans are just way overwhelmed in debt. You know, we have the student loans, auto loans, credit cards, the list can go on and on and on. And so when we really talk about generational wealth, we really have to see, okay, what are really the actual habits of the millionaires, of the people that are actually wealthy? And a lot of times it's not the flashiness, right? A lot of times it's literally, like the book says, the millionaire next door. So we're going to look at a few things during this presentation. We're going to go pretty fast. First thing is looking like wealth versus actually building wealth. So these are going to be financial habits that delay generational wealth. So number one, purchasing a vehicle every 2 to 3 years is probably the worst thing that you can do. Right along with leasing. You know, the cars depreciate so quickly. It's easy just to sign your name on that dotted line because you're not paying $30,000 in full, right? You're making maybe $500 a month, something little here and there. But if you were to actually think about it, if you are constantly purchasing a car every couple years just because it's cool or just because, you know, I don't know, you just want a new car, you're going deeper and deeper and deeper into debt. Number two, expending excessively on food. I think this gets a lot of people because Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, we're a lot busier than we were previously. So those things are literally calling our name. And so we're going to talk about zero-based budgeting here in a little bit. But if you don't tell your money where to go, Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, Taco Cabana, all these places will start taking it for you just because it's not allocated. All right, 3, memberships you don't use. If you have a gym membership and you haven't gone in the past 2 to 3 months, yeah, I think it's time to cut it. As well as Netflix, you know, there's all these different streaming apps that we have. And while they're great, a lot of times you can just overindulge in them. Maybe just pick one. Okay, vacations you cannot afford. If you are struggling to pay your student loans, you're on different type of income-based arrangements, this may not be the best time for you to just start taking a vacation. Let's get serious about this. I've seen so many people, you know, they've been traveling the world and it looks all great on social media, but they probably paid for it using debt. So again, they're falling further and further into the debt trap. And then unnecessary clothing purchases. Honestly, most people tend to stay within the same weight and height. Sometimes there may be some variations, but there's no need for you to have to go and buy a new outfit every single time you have an event. You can go to thrift stores. Wealthy people, they tend to shop discount. They're not in line buying the Jordans or buying the latest and greatest. They're probably waiting until it goes on sale. I remember I had a conversation with a man who was very wealthy. This was probably a couple years ago, but he still had an iPhone 4. I couldn't believe it. And I had a conversation and he said, well, if things don't make me more money, I'm probably not going to buy it, of course, right away. But he said, I'm going to wait until that value drops. And that way, now I become the winner and not the company. All right. So people that actually are wealthy, number one, their money makes them money. They have their money in mutual funds, real estate, and we're going to talk about investing in just a little bit, but they have their money in places that are actually making their money grow. The movement of what money is how you grow money, you know, kind of just overall. Number two, they own real estate and focus on cash flow. Typically, a lot of millionaires own real estate, whether that's actual homes, commercial property, residential, even land. And one thing they do is that they focus on the cash flow. So if you look at it right now, we're probably going to go into some type of real estate dip, right? The wealthy say, it doesn't matter to me. I'm still going to make money from my rental income. So I'm still making money. And then when the economy starts to go back up, now is a great time to sell. So they are in the prime position to buy low and sell high because they focus on the cash flow, not necessarily do I want to buy when it's high or buy when it's low. You know, they have a lot of flexibility there. Number 3 is that they invest in education and experiences. So what I have found is that wealthy individuals, instead of spending their money on tangible items such as clothing and food, things of that nature, they may put their kids in the top schools because they know that positioning their children really sets their kids up for a well-connected future. Typically the kids that, and of course this is a statistic, this is not all the way around, but they put their kids in these very elite schools, not necessarily for the education, but just to be around the network of people that may become the politicians and in other leadership roles. Number 4, they know their personal net worth. We're going to get more into that. And then they're big givers. They understand that giving is a part of, one, as a believer, it's a part of the kingdom economy, but they understand that not hoarding it all to themselves is really what sets their generations up for wealth. All right, so let's talk a little bit about why income producing assets are better than income. So think about it. Income from a job requires you to work actively, right? Day in and day out. You're going to work, you get a paycheck. You're doing something in your business, you're getting paid for it. Income producing assets, on the other hand, allow you to earn what we call passive income, meaning that I'm going to take some money, I'm going to buy, and this is just an example, I'm going to buy a piece of property, and that property is then going to make me money. So yes, while I may have to actively work here and there, for the most part, I'm going to collect this rent check, for example, no matter what. It's always going to come in. Of course, you may have tenants that, you know, don't pay here or there, but that's not super common. And so the goal here is to use your younger, earlier years where you have the energy, you have the time to take income from a job and slowly transition that over to buying income producing assets that will make you money. That's exactly what the wealthy do. They buy property and they invest in mutual funds so that when they are at the age where they say, okay, I'm tired of actively working for my income, now those assets start funneling their personal budgets every single month. Okay, so what is your net worth? So remember, wealthy people, they know where they stand. They know how much is coming in, how much is going out, but they understand their net worth. So on a piece of paper, I just want you to write this down. So you're either going to be on the green, yellow, or the red. So your net worth is going to be the total of everything that you own. So we call these assets, right? So assets are going to be your cash, your bank account balance, market value of your home. If you were to sell your home that you own today, how much would you receive? Your cars, investments, stocks, anything that is there as a resource to you. Okay, then you're going to subtract out your liabilities. So that's going to be, if you have a mortgage loan, the current balance of your mortgage loan, student loans, credit card. I owe you, if you owe Jimmy down the street $5, you need to include that too, because that's a liability. Okay, we subtract those two numbers and then we get what's called your net worth. All right, so for example, number 1, you have total assets, your checking account. If you sell your house, your mutual funds, all that's $300,000. You have $250 in debt, maybe mortgage, auto loans, car loans. So that leaves you with a net worth of right at $50,000. So you are in the green, okay? You're doing good. If something were to happen to you today, you will leave this earth or leave whoever's going to inherit your net worth, $50,000, not including life insurance, things like that, okay? Number 2, your assets and liabilities are the same, right? $300,000 in assets If we were to sell everything, we still have $300,000 in loans we'd have to pay off. So I'm just breaking even. I'm in the yellow, I'm breaking even. I don't owe anybody, I don't get anything, I'm just right in the middle. And then lastly, total assets are 300, but now your liabilities are 500. So you owe way more people than what you actually have in cash and market value. So you're at a deficit right now of 200,000. So of course, ideally the goal is to always be in the green, at least break even. But for sure, we definitely want to move out of the deficit, out of the red and into the green. So how do we do that? Something else I want to note here, if your net worth is $1 million, you are considered a millionaire. A lot of people think, okay, millionaires means that they have $1 million in the bank account. No, no, no. Remember, as long as your net worth is $1 million. So that means that your $1 million can come from, let me go back to this slide. It can come from the cash in your account. It can come from if you sell your properties, your stock, your investments. So in this case, we probably know a whole lot more millionaires than really what we think, right? And that's why typically someone wrote in the Q&A, they said, well, how do I know who a millionaire is? How do I go to them? Honestly, millionaires are probably people that we walk by every single day. All right, so before you make a large purchase, ask yourself, is this increasing or decreasing my net worth? One thing that I do see is that, especially in the minority community, we typically only focus on income. This is how much I make, and literally what comes in goes right back out. So honestly, there's no building of assets. There's no generational wealth transfer because we just focus on income. We focus on what's coming in, we spend it all until we get our next paycheck. It comes in, we spend it all, and then we just start this whole cycle. So how we do that is we really have to change our mindset about wealth. We have to change how we look at money, what money does for us, and how we can use money to our advantage to really set not only ourselves up, but our generations to come up for financial success. And one of those things is calculating your net worth. Whenever you now go to do your budget, think about anything financially, you always want to think from, is this increasing my net worth? If I go out and buy a car today and the car's $30,000 and that means I get a $30,000 loan, I drive it off a lot, now it's worth $20,000. Guess what? I just decreased my net worth by $10,000. That's probably gonna make me pay a little bit more attention to my finances, because if I'm thinking from a net worth perspective and how close I'm going to get to being a millionaire, that car purchase may not be in my best advantage right now. Not to say that you won't ever buy a car like that, but it may just not be the right timing. Sometimes we're just doing things out of the right timing just because I've graduated, I owe myself, I work hard every day, so I deserve to drive this Mercedes-Benz, right? But no, if we're thinking generationally, sometimes we really just have to push the brakes to really see, okay, what does this look like in the end? All right, so the mindset you need to produce wealth. So write these things down. So number one, the very first thing, we've been talking a lot about words today, and that's remove negative language. Remove negative language from your life. I know a lot of people, even growing up, maybe if you were in a household where it was financially challenging, you may have heard, I'm always going to be broke. We're always struggling. Oh, I need my first paycheck to make the rent payment. You have to start changing those things. You have to change your mindset, what you think, what you say about words. That's number one. Number two, change your associates. I love what Tahoya said. She said, you got to find that tribe. Same thing financially. You have to find those associates and environment that's conducive to where you're going. Even if you're not there yet, you can start being around those people, start seeing, okay, what are they doing? What are they not doing? What's something that I can start doing now? Honestly, if you have $1, you can start building generational wealth. It doesn't have to be these huge deposits, but it's the little things It's the little things that add up over time. And most millionaires, they don't just become a millionaire. There's a statistic, and it said that only 3% of millionaires actually acquired their wealth through some type of large inheritance or lottery. So the 97%, they've probably been at this for a while. Okay, it's kind of like the rabbit versus the turtle. You know, you're just gonna have to turtle your way through, you know, making it to your $1 million net worth. All right, number 3, start thinking wealthy. Again, start thinking wealthy. To Hoya, man, you just all up in my presentation today, because even she said, you know, you have to change the way that you think. Start grabbing some scriptures. The kingdom is wealthy. The kingdom of God is wealthy, and as inhabitants of the kingdom, we too are a part of that wealth. But we have to change our mindset, which is then going to change our actions as well as our behaviors. Number 4, embrace delayed gratification. So that means, yeah, I may have to delay that purchase. I may have to start taking my lunch every day instead of going out to eat. You know, my $7, $8 a day now, if I really add that up throughout the course of the year, that could fund my emergency savings account. So just as we are thinking about the little things, again, it's not the big stuff. It's the $10, the $8, the spending here, the spending there, the $2 coffee runs. All those things really make up significant, significant funds. All right, number 5, read, and read. So one statistic about wealthy individuals is that they tend to be readers, whether that's you're an audiobook person, you are constantly reading and getting education. Again, that is about the renewal of the mind, making sure that you are associating yourself, you're changing your language, you're changing your thoughts to be more wealth conscious. All right, so what I want everyone to do at some point today, you are going to review your previous month's bank transactions. Okay, so we're at the end of April, so you can pick April. And I want you to go in there. You can download and export an Excel of all of your transactions for the month. And you can see how much you actually spent. Now, don't cheat. If you went to Starbucks 10 times, you went to Starbucks 10 times. It's okay. We want you to be honest. Take an honest assessment of yourself, okay? Write down all the things, tally it up to where you can see, okay, how much did I spend in self-care, in personal care, hair, nails, makeup, things of that nature? How much did I spend on groceries? How much did I spend on all these memberships? And then don't be afraid to cut where needed. Again, you're making decisions that's not going to just affect you, but it's going to affect generations to come. My husband, when he met me, he didn't have any debt, but he inherited some debt because I had about $10,000 in credit card debt that when he said I do to, he said I do to the credit card debt too. So a lot of people who are even single still, you can be preparing yourself for marriage so that your spouse doesn't have to, inherit all this extra debt. Now, once you have all of your income and expenses, okay, don't be afraid. It's okay. We've all been there. We've all spent $1,000 a month on food when we only had $200 budgeted. Okay, we've been there, done that. Okay, but you want to create what we call a zero-based budget. All right, so what that means, you are going to list all of your income by paycheck. By paycheck. One thing that I have seen my financial clients very successful in is when they budget by their paycheck versus the month. So if you get paid like on the 1st and the 15th or every 2 weeks, you're going to do a budget per paycheck. You'll list your income from your paycheck, or if you're self-employed, the average of how much you typically bring in, as well as all of your expenses that are due before the next payday. Okay, now your goal is if you have any money left over, that money needs to go either to savings or needs to go pay off some debt. Either one. It's going to save or it's going to go to debt. The goal is to have as much money left over. So let's say, Chrystal, I listed my income and expenses and I'm just way over. Like I am spending more than I'm bringing in. Okay, well that means you have to go in and you got to cut some stuff. You got to cut the cable. You got to cut hair. You're going to have to make some decisions, or you're going to have to add to your income. Again, this is about generational wealth building. And this is really how it starts. So remember, the goal is to use your income in your young, active working years. Whatever's left over that you've saved, you can now go buy those income producing assets. Whatever that is to you. I do want to, because I'm almost out of time. Man, that went really fast. Let's go here. A lot of people ask me, you know, what type of investment should I do? You know, should I go into real estate? Should I go into mutual funds? Should I put my money in Bitcoin? My answer is do what you know. Especially right now, everybody's like, oh, go buy some Amazon stock. It's low and it'll go back up. Don't put your money there. Don't put your money anywhere where it just sounds cool and you really don't know what that looks like. Speaking from experience, okay, we got caught up in the Bitcoin thing a long time ago, lost all our money. We had a significant investment. Now, it was a learning lesson, but we didn't know anything about it. We just thought, hey, we can get in on something, but we really didn't study. We didn't really put the necessary time and energy into understanding something so that we know when the market went up or down, what to do with our money. So again, especially when it comes to investing, you want to invest in what you know. So if that means that you do want to invest in Bitcoin, you need to get around the market of people that really understand, that can teach you. You need to start dedicating time and resources to actually learning what that actually is. If you're like, you know what, I just want to stick with real estate or I want to stick with stocks, same thing. You want to invest in what you know. All right. So I want you guys right now to make a financial goal and commitment. From the poll, a lot of people said, you know, I want to do everything. Be a little bit more specific just for this time frame. Sometimes when we say I want to do everything, it gets a little overwhelming. And so it's like, okay, well, where do I start? You know, right now, what I'm telling, you know, my financial clients is because of this pandemic where we are, we may need to hit the pause button on the debt payoff. Make sure that you have 3 to 6 months worth of savings saved up in the event that this goes on a little bit longer than we think. You know, once the economy kind of gets back going, go ahead and restart your debt plan. But I do want to encourage everyone to create a goal and then stay committed to it. So that is my presentation for today. You can follow me on social media at Chrystal V. Bernard. There's also a free wealth building guide as well. If you go to my website, crystalbernard.com, you will find some information there.